My wife cheated and got pregnant, told me to raise it so. I got a DNA test, served her divorce papers, and took back my entire life. I used to believe love was about loyalty, until loyalty became my biggest weakness. I'm a 33-year-old guy. And for most of my adult life, I thought if you gave someone your full heart, they'd naturally protect it. That belief died the day I realized love can blind you faster than hate ever could. I met Emily at a charity marathon 5 years ago. She was this burst of energy, cheering people on, handing out water bottles, smiling like she was made of sunlight. I remember she noticed I'd twisted my ankle halfway through the run and refused to leave my side until I got medical help. That moment stuck with me. I thought, this woman has a heart that cares. We started dating soon after long walks, cheap coffee dates, quiet nights filled with laughter and little dreams. She wasn't the type who wanted fancy things, at least. That's what I told myself. I mistook her confidence for kindness, her ambition for love. When we got married, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. She posted a picture of us holding hands under the caption, "My forever teammate." I remember grinning at my phone like an idiot, proud that someone like her chose someone like me. But slowly, the small cracks started to show. Emily became obsessed with posting every detail of our lives, every dinner, every vacation, every surprise gift I bought her. I started noticing how she compared us to other couples, saying things like, "Did you see how Mark surprised his wife with a car? Some men just get it." I brushed it off. I told myself that marriage was about compromise. That love meant patience. That her restlessness would fade once we built a family. I didn't realize those cracks weren't random. They were warning signs, those that the woman I called my wife was already building a different version of our life. One where I was never meant to fit. At first, I blamed it on stress. We were both working long hours, saving for a house, and talking about starting a family. But something about Emily began to shift, subtle at first, like a song slightly off-key. She stopped greeting me at the door, stopped laughing at my dumb jokes. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, now never left her hand. "It's just work," she'd say when I asked. "We've got new clients, I can't afford to slack." But those client dinners became more frequent, always running late, always ending with her coming home smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. One night, I made her favorite pasta with roasted garlic sauce and waited until midnight. When she finally walked in, she looked startled, almost guilty, to see the candles still burning. "You didn't have to wait up," she said, tossing her heels aside. "I just wanted to have dinner together," I replied softly. She sighed, poured herself a glass of wine, and muttered, "You're smothering me lately?" Can I breathe without it turning into an interrogation? That word smothering hit harder than I expected. I wasn't angry. I was confused. The woman who once clung to me during storms now acted like I was the storm itself. The next week, my friend Ryan pulled me aside after work. "Hey man," he started, hesitant. "Did you know Emily was at the Oak Room last night? I thought you guys were going to your cousin's thing." I blinked. She told me she was working late. He frowned. She wasn't alone. Close. I laughed it off in front of him, but my chest tightened. That night, as Emily hummed in the shower, I stared at her phone on the dresser. My hand hovered over it, then pulled back. I still trusted her. Or maybe I just needed to. But deep down, something had already cracked hand. It wasn't just trust. It was me. A few weeks later, Emily came home with trembling hands and red-rimmed eyes. For a second, I thought she'd been crying. But when she held out a small white stick with 2 faint pink lines, everything around me froze. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. I didn't think. I just pulled her into my arms and felt this tidal wave of joy crash through me. I'd always wanted to be a dad, to build something stable, something loving, the kind of home I never had growing up. For a moment, it felt like the universe was giving us a fresh start. I told my parents, bought flowers, started repainting the guest room. Emily seemed overwhelmed but distant, like her body was there and her mind was somewhere else. She blamed it on hormones, nausea, fatigue. I believed her. I wanted to, but even in the middle of what should have been happiness, strange moments kept piling up. She flinched when I mentioned the due date. She avoided intimacy completely, saying she just didn't feel like being touched. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find her sitting in the living room, scrolling through her phone in the dark, tears in her eyes. One morning, as I got ready for work, I heard her whispering in the hallway. Her tone was sharp urgent. I caught a few words before she noticed me. "You can't find out." "I'm not." When she turned around, her face went pale. "Who are you talking to?" I asked. "Just my mom," she said quickly, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're hearing things." The rest of that day, her words echoed in my head. He can't find out. That night, when she fell asleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling, my chest heavy with dread. For the first time, I wasn't sure if the baby we were celebrating was even mine. By the time the baby shower rolled around, I had buried my doubts deep enough to pretend everything was fine. Family filled our house-pink balloons, laughter, little cupcakes shaped like rattles. Emily looked radiant, glowing in that pastel dress, basking in everyone's attention. But something felt wrong. Every time I glanced around, her co-workers whispered, sharing awkward glances when I walked by. One of them, a woman named Lisa, smiled too tightly and said, "You're such a good husband." Emily's lucky. The way she said it made my stomach twist. Later that night, after the last guest left, I found my best friend Ryan sitting on the porch, staring at his beer. He hesitated before speaking. "Man, there's something you should know." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" He looked down. I didn't want to say anything unless I was sure. But people at her office had been talking. About Emily, about a guy she's been close to. He wouldn't say the name, but I didn't need him to. My mind instantly filled in the blanks. Inside, Emily was humming softly, cleaning up wrapping paper. She looked so normal it almost made me feel insane. I asked, trying to sound calm. "Hey, is there something going on at work? People seem weird." She froze for half a second before forcing a laugh. "Weird? Oh my God, are you still on that paranoia train?" She cut me off, voice sharp now. "You think everyone's out to get you. You're obsessed with controlling me." That night, she locked herself in the guest room. I could hear her crying, whispering to someone on the phone. I pressed my ear to the door and caught fragments just enough to know she wasn't talking to a friend. When she finally emerged the next morning, she acted like nothing happened, kissed me on the cheek, said, "Don't forget your lunch." But something in her tone was hollow, and something in me finally started to wake up. It happened on a Thursday. Emily had fallen asleep on the couch, one hand resting protectively on her stomach, the TV playing softly in the background. Her phone buzzed twice on the coffee table. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something inside me, maybe instinct, maybe years of ignored red flags, told me to look. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize, M. The preview of the message read, "I can't stop thinking about you." It should have been us. My heart stopped. I unlocked her phone. No passcode? Maybe she thought I'd never look. Maybe she thought I was still that naive. What I found gutted me. Months of deleted texts, hidden under the contact name M. But the real name showed up in a photo she forgot to delete. Mark. Mark from her office. Married, father of 2. The same guy whose name I once heard in passing when she mentioned a harmless work friend. The messages weren't vague. They were intimate, explicit, plans to meet, regret, and then one message. Dated around the same time she got pregnant. If it's mine, I want to be in her life. You can't keep lying forever. I sat there in silence for what felt like hours, staring at the screen, her soft breathing in the background like some cruel lullaby. My hands were shaking, but my mind was eerily clear. I took screenshots, printed everything, saved backups to a USB. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted the truth. Cold, hard, undeniable truth. Because love doesn't survive on blind trust. It survives on truth. And that night, I realized I hadn't been in love for a long time. I had been in denial, and now I was done pretending. After that night, something in me shut off. Not in an angry, explosive way. No, this was cold, mechanical. Still packed her favorite snacks when she left for work. Still rubbed her back when she complained about lower spine pain. But inside, I was gone. I was a ghost playing husband. Instead of confronting her, I started documenting everything. Every late arrival, every odd call, every lie. I reached out to a lawyer someone Ryan recommended. She told me what I needed. Dates, screenshots, any patterns of deception. Don't blow it up until you've built the exit, she said. So I waited, watched. Planned. Emily, meanwhile, doubled down on her performance, posting photos of our growing little miracle, tagging me with captions like, "Can't wait to raise our girl together." Every like, every comment from her friends calling us couple goals made my stomach churn. One evening, while we were watching Netflix, she turned to me and said, "You've been really sweet lately. I feel like we're finally clicking again." I smiled. "I just want to give you the life you deserve." She leaned on my shoulder. "You already do." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw every printed text thread in her face and ask how she could fake it so effortlessly. But instead, I just stared blankly at the screen, letting the lie sink deeper. I scheduled the DNA test the next morning, paid extra for discretion and speed. They sent me a collection kit and instructions. I used a strand of the baby's hair from her tiny keepsake box and sealed the envelope with shaking hands. For the next 10 days, I moved through life like a shadow, smiling when needed, nodding at the right times, but every second ticked with one question pulsing in my head. What if the answer confirms what I already know? The day Emily gave birth was a blur of beeping monitors, sterile walls, and forced smiles. She held my hand through contractions, tears streaking down her face, whispering, "I'm scared," like nothing had ever come between us. And I played the role, comforting, strong, present. I even cried when I first heard the baby cry, a little girl, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, full head of dark hair. I wanted to believe that moment would heal everything. That maybe I was wrong. That maybe the baby was mine, and this nightmare had all been in my head. But when I held her, something gnawed at me. Her eyes bright green. No one in my family has green eyes. Emily's. Blue, the shape of her chin. The slight curl of her hair, all unfamiliar. I told myself I was being paranoid, that genetics are weird, that love isn't in biology until Emily said it. We were alone in the hospital room, the baby sleeping beside her, and she turned to me and said, "You're going to be such a great dad no matter what." That pause, no matter what. It wasn't the words. It was how she said them, tender but guilty. Like a woman trying to plant forgiveness into a sentence before truth had the chance to show up. I asked, cautiously, "Would you be okay if we did a paternity test? Just to be safe, for the records." She went still, her face drained. "A DNA test," she echoed, as if I'd just accused her of a crime. "It's standard in some hospitals," I lied. "It's just," she cut me off, "if you really loved me, you wouldn't ask that." I didn't say anything. I just stared at the woman I thought I knew. Holding a child, I was now terrified to love. That night, while they slept, I sat in the corner chair and quietly broke into pieces. 3 days after we brought the baby home, the results arrived. A thin white envelope, no branding, no logo, just my name, and a pit forming in my stomach the size of everything I'd been ignoring. I waited until Emily went upstairs to nap with the baby. My hands were trembling as I opened it. I already knew, but seeing it printed in black and white made it real in a way my gut never could. Probability of paternity, 0%. No match. Not even close. I just stared at it. Not angry, not even sad, just hollow. All those months I spent preparing for fatherhood, all those hours in baby stores picking out strollers and cribs, all of it based on a lie. I walked into the kitchen, set the letter down, and poured myself a glass of water with shaking hands. My reflection in the window looked like a stranger. When Emily came downstairs, she smiled like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "She smiled at me today, like a real smile." I nodded. That's great. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to confront. I wasn't going to cry in front of her ever again. I was going to end this with precision. I scanned the documents, made digital copies, emailed my lawyer, and titled the folder, "Exit Plan," for the next week. I moved through the house like a shadow. I fed the baby. I changed diapers. I helped Emily sleep in. I was the perfect husband, and she had no idea. I knew, no idea, that every moment I spent beside her now wasn't about love. It was about closure, and when it came, it wouldn't be a fight, it would be surgical. The day I served Emily the divorce papers was her idea of a celebration. She'd planned a family photo shoot, matching pastel outfits, props with the baby's name spelled out in wooden blocks. She was so excited, fluttering around the house, practicing poses in the mirror. "You should wear that navy sweater," she said, smiling, as she adjusted the baby's headband. "It makes your eyes look kind." "Kind," I smiled, went upstairs, and grabbed the documents I'd tucked inside a padded envelope. Inside, divorce papers, paternity test results, and screenshots of every message between her and Mark. The photographer arrived. Emily posed us under the maple tree in our backyard, telling him this is our first official family portrait. As we stood side by side, the process server walked up the driveway. "Emily Walker?" he asked. She turned, confused. "Yes." He handed her the envelope. "You've been served." The silence that followed could have split the ground beneath us. She opened it slowly, like it might explode. Her eyes scanned the pages first, the court summons, then the DNA test, then the screenshots. Her face drained of color. She whispered, "Truth," I said calmly, cradling the baby one last time before gently placing her back in the stroller. Emily's voice cracked. "You can't do this. What about us? What about our daughter?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "She's not mine, and neither are you." The photographer had quietly packed up and backed away. Sensing a story better left unphotographed, Emily dropped to the ground, holding the papers like they were knives. "Please, we can fix this." I didn't answer. I walked into the house, closed the door behind me, and for the first time in months, maybe years, breathed, like a man who wasn't carrying a lie on his back. And I wasn't done yet. This was only the beginning of the undoing. By the next morning, it was no longer just between us. Mark's wife found the screenshots I sent anonymously from a burner email. I didn't sign my name. I didn't need to. Truth has a way of carving its own path. Within 48 hours, their affair was the worst-kept secret in Emily's office. Mark was put on immediate leave, pending an internal investigation. His wife filed for divorce by the end of the week, and Emily, she tried to spin it, posted a black-and-white photo of herself, holding the baby with some melodramatic caption, "Sometimes love hurts, but motherhood is forever." Comments poured in. Some people bought the performance. Others didn't, but then the quiet messages started. One from Lisa. "Hey, I don't know what happened, but I just want to say I'm sorry. We all had a feeling." Another from Mark's assistant. "She used to brag about how he said she was the only one who understood him. I should have said something." My lawyer called 2 days later. "It's moving faster than we expected. Her side hasn't filed a response yet. Probably scrambling." Emily tried reaching out. Dozens of texts. "We can fix this. I messed up. I was scared. She's still yours. You raised her like yours." No apology, just desperation. The woman who once weaponized silence now drowned in it. I said nothing. I posted nothing. I didn't defend myself or share my side. That silence, it killed her more than any rant ever could. She showed up at my parents' house once, begging them to talk to me. My mom slammed the door in her face. Even her own parents stopped calling her world. So carefully curated, collapsed under the weight of her lies and me. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt free. The house felt different once Emily and the baby were gone. Not just quieter, emptier, like someone had scrubbed the air clean of tension. No more half-truths in the kitchen. No more fake smiles in the hallway. Just silence and sunlight and the echo of a man learning how to breathe again. I moved into the guest bedroom for a while, unable to sleep in the bed we used to share. Every corner of the house held memories, some real, some rewritten in hindsight. The nursery was the worst. I packed it up slowly, placing toys and baby clothes into boxes, like I was burying a future that never existed. My lawyer finalized the divorce within a month. No custody battle, no fight at all. The paternity test removed any legal obligation. Emily didn't contest. I think even she knew she'd burned the last bridge. I sold the house. I didn't want to fix something that had rotted from the foundation. I got a small apartment near my work. Nothing fancy, just enough space for peace. Started therapy at first. I felt stupid. Like talking about the betrayal somehow made me weaker. But then I realized silence was what got me here in the first place. One day, my therapist asked, "What do you want now?" I paused, thought about it, and said, "I want to be a man who doesn't mistake loyalty for love." I started going to the gym again, reached out to old friends, took a solo trip to the mountains where cell signal didn't exist. Woke up to the sound of nothing but wind and leaves and felt more alive than I had in years. Healing didn't come in waves. It came in quiet moments, like the first morning I didn't wake up thinking about her, or the first night I didn't check my phone to see if she'd texted. That's when I knew the worst was over. Sometimes the hardest part isn't losing someone. It's realizing they were never truly yours to begin with. Months have passed. The divorce is finalized. The chapter closed. But every so often, I still get an email from Emily Long, rambling paragraphs about how motherhood changed her, how she's working on herself, how maybe someday we could talk. I never reply, not out of spite, not out of anger, but because I no longer owe her anything, not my attention, not my closure, not my forgiveness. The man she betrayed doesn't live here anymore. She thought I'd be her fallback, her safety net, the man who would always come back because he loved too hard to leave. But she was wrong. One of her last emails said, "You're still the best man I've ever known." And maybe that's true. But I was the best man she never deserved. These days, I've started writing again. Journaling. Nothing fancy. Just thoughts I used to bury. I picked up the guitar I hadn't touched in years. Music fills my new apartment every evening, raw, unfiltered, healing. There's a USB drive in my desk drawer labeled Truth_Final. It holds every photo, every message, every test result, proof, not for revenge, not for leverage. Just in case I ever forget how far I've come, I thought I wanted revenge. But what I really needed was freedom, the final scene. Me, sitting on the balcony of a place that's mine alone, sipping black coffee, staring out into a sky that doesn't look so heavy anymore. She lost the baby's father. She lost her husband. But most of all, she lost the one person who would have never given up on her and me. I gained myself back. Finally,